7. Dr. Hynek's. Although advanced in years, there are some who believe that Dr. Hynek's death was because of strange circumstances, due to the high number of researchers who have died of brain tumors or cancer. In 1977, at the first International UFO Congress in Chicago, Hynek presented his thoughts in his speech. He introduced a third hypothesis. "I hold it entirely possible," he said, "that a technology exists, which encompasses both the physical and the psychic, the material and the mental. There are stars that are millions of years older than the Sun. There may be a civilization that is millions of years more advanced than man's. We have gone from Kitty Hawk to the Moon in some 70 years, but it's possible that a million-year-old civilization may know something that we don't. I hypothesize an M&M technology encompassing the mental and material realms. The psychic realms, so mysterious to us today, may be an ordinary part of an advanced technology." 8. Anne Livingston. Livingston made her living as an accountant, but she was also a MUFON investigator and had in fact published an article entitled "Electronic Harassment and Alien Abductions" in the November 1993 MUFON Journal. Another death involving elements of high strangeness is that of Anne Livingston, who died in early 1994 of a fast form of ovarian cancer. At 7:15 a.m., December 29, 1992, Livingston's apartment, which was close to O'Hare Airport in Chicago, was lit up brightly by a silver-white flash. She was accosted later in the day while in her apartment parking lot by 5 MIBs, men in black, which she described as being almost faceless and carrying long, flashlight-like black objects. She was rendered unconscious. Anne Livingston died of a mysterious and fast-acting strain of ovarian cancer in early 1994. Prior to her death, she had published an article in the November 1993 MUFON Journal called "Electronic Harassment and Alien Abductions" that strongly criticized the director of the Electronic Surveillance Project, Julian McKinney. 9. Karla Turner. Dr. Karla Turner died of cancer on January 10, 1996, after being threatened for her work. She was just 48. Since then, several other people involved in UFO investigation have also experienced threats followed by highly unusual cancers. Several of her case studies are now dead. Karla was widely respected in the UFO community for her research on alien abduction. A scholar and professional educator, she earned a Ph.D. in Old English Studies and taught at the university level in Texas for more than 10 years. But in 1988, she and her husband and son endured a shocking series of experiences and recollections that forced them to recognize that they were all abductees. Karla's response was to drop her professional university career and turn her full attention to abduction research. Her first book, Into the Fringe, Berkeley Books, 1992, told of her own experiences and those of her family. Her second book, Taken, Inside the Alien-Human Abduction Agenda, Celt Works, 1994, profiled the abduction stories of 8 women whose experiences included both alien and human intrusions, and both benign and negative elements, illustrating the profoundly complex nature of the abduction mystery. Her most recent book, Masquerade of Angels, Celt Works, 1994, was co-written with psychic Ted Rice and recounts Ted's lifelong encounters with strange entities whose identity hovered in a shadowland between angelic and demonic. Karla was working on another book when she became ill in early 1995. Danny Casolaro. Danny Casolaro, an investigative reporter looking into the theft of Project Promise software, a program capable of tracking down anyone anywhere in the world, died in 1991, a reported suicide. Casolaro was also investigating several UFO and governmental bioengineering. Casolaro was in the process of writing a book entitled, The Octopus, a multi-leveled conspiracy of corporate military control, much of the technocracy for which is being developed at Area 51. The Wackenhut Security Agency, owned and controlled by retired CIA and NSA fascists, is used as a parameter security force to augment the internal Delta Force security for several alien-infiltrated underground bases. Wackenhut and other tentacles of the octopus were to be heavily implicated in the Casolaro expose, in large part due to former Wackenhut employee and source for Inside Dirt on the Inslaw scandal, Michael Ricanasuto. This gentleman was convicted of a felony and sent to a federal prison on what he claimed were falsified drug charges. Casolaro was found murdered in his home, and his research papers and manuscript for his book were nowhere to be found. May Bussell. October 3, 1988. May Bussell, investigative radio host, died of a fast-acting cancer just like Livingston and Karla Turner. In November of 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and this was the catalyst that propelled May into her career in investigation of conspiratorial events and personalities. She began this journey by purchasing the 26-volume set of Warren Commission documents where she patterns, interconnections and vast other gross criminalities. The course of this research took her through black ops such as Jonestown and the Symbionese Liberation Army to Nazi collaboration and technical assimilation into the current American landscape. Through government-sponsored terrorism, false flag ops, the destruction of the 60s counterculture, Charles Manson, the Zebra, Zodiac and the Son of Sam murders as a tool of terror, along with assassinations of prominent leaders and satanic ritual abuse and murder. On December 16, 1970, May's daughter Bonnie Bussell was killed in an automobile accident which May believed was a warning to her. Other more egregious threats were launched towards her when she exposed linked elements of the U.S. military to satanic cults and practices. On March 29, 1981, much of May's broadcast was spent discussing the power struggle within the Reagan administration and asked who will kill off their team members first. The following morning President Reagan was shot in Washington, D.C. On May 29, 1968, May confronted Rose Kennedy at the Monterey Peninsula Airport and handed her a note telling her Robert Kennedy would soon be assassinated. A week later he was shot to death at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. May summarized her personal outlook and philosophy: "I am against the planned political assassinations by our intelligence and defense agents. The CIA, FBI, DIA and DISC, Defense Industry Security Command, were set up originally to protect citizens of the USA. They became their own judges and juries, private servants of corporations with investments at home and abroad. I am against the constant destruction of evidence in criminal matters and political assassinations. Prime witnesses are murdered before or after testifying. Diaries are forged and planted in obvious places. Doubles are created to confuse. The police departments manipulate facts in cooperation with conspirators. I am outraged that our judicial system since 1947 has been patterned after Nazi Germany. Patsies are dead or locked away. The assassins walk the streets or leave the country, home free. I am against using the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Earl Warren, to cover up the assassination of President Kennedy. When the highest court is corrupt, there is no hope at local levels." May Bussell once aptly stated, "There is nothing worse than looking back and regretting not having done what was important to you. Don't die before you're dead." Brian Lynch. Brian Lynch, young psychic and contactee, died in 1985, purportedly of a drug overdose. According to Lynch's sister, Geraldine, Brian was approached approximately a year before his death by an intelligence operative working for an Austin, Texas, PSI tech company. Geraldine said they told Brian they were experimenting on psychic warfare techniques. After his death, a note in his personal effects was found with the words $5 million from Pentagon for Project Scan 8. In 1972, during the height of the Cold War, the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, embarked on a project that would last for over 20 years and be run by a number of high-level governmental organizations, including the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, and the United States Army. The project was the investigation of parapsychological abilities and the potential of using such abilities in intelligence-gathering operations. Although this was the first time that the CIA would fund any sort of true investigation into psychic abilities, the agency had been interested in the subject in the past. During World War II there were rumors of Nazi Germany developing such capabilities. In 1961 the chief of the Office of Technical Services, ODS, within the agency contacted Stephen I. Abrams, the head of the Parapsychological Laboratory at Oxford University in England on the question of ESP, extrasensory perception. Abrams sent back a report that ESP appeared to exist but could be neither understood or controlled. After this report little investigation into the world of the psychic was undertaken by the CIA. In the 1970s, however, interest in the subject was given new life by Drs. Harold Puthoff and Russell Targ of the Stanford Research Institute, SRI. They expressed knowledge of Soviet investigations into psychic abilities, including video of a man who could move inanimate objects with his mind. This caught the attention of the CIA and a working relationship between the agency and SRI in the investigation of psychic abilities began.